So Rajat, how's the feeling right now? Is it synced in or like any kind of anxiety is still there?
There was some time, maybe 6 to 7 days, until I did not realize what has happened because of the overwhelming response from people.
So talking about the prelims related aspects, you have also appeared for the prelims this year also.
Since I was in Delhi, and I feel detached from that aspirant life. Every year when it's May, you start ringing the alarm bells that it's prelims, you are high on anxiety, and I think that anxiety kind of becomes an obsession.
I think the decoding of syllabus for the means examination is also very, very important.
Because decoding is one, and number two is predicting certain important topics, especially with reference to paper 2 or paper 3, where you'll have more current affairs. Financial things are also important for mental health, and I started working 2 years back, and I qualified this examination along with my work.
Hello everyone. Today I am joined by Rajat Patre, who have secured All India Rank 305 in the UPSC CSE examination 2024. We'll discuss about what strategy worked for him and what can be the takeaways for the students from his preparation. Welcome Rajat.
Hi.
So first of all, very, very congratulations for clearing this examination with the rank 305.
Thank you so much.
So Rajat, how's the feeling right now? Is it synced in or any kind of anxiety is still there?
I think it's been quite a while since the result now. So I have processed it now. There was some time, maybe 6 to 7 days, until I did not realize what has happened because of the overwhelming response from people, the kind of attention and everything that I was getting from people. It was difficult to process it for some time, but then I took some lone time, some solo time, and then I realized what has happened, what big of a change has happened in my life. So I think I'm settled with it now.
Okay. So can you briefly tell to the students about what is your preparation journey and what kind of things that you came across in this preparation journey, along with your background also?
Okay, so I'll start with my introduction first with regard to my academic background. My graduation has happened in honors in geography from University of Delhi. I did my MA in geography from Delhi School of Economics, and I did my NET JRF in geography again. Then professionally, I worked with Vision as a mentor for 2 years, and I belong to Amravati in Maharashtra. And this was my 6th attempt. So in terms of my attempts and my journey so far, I have given 6 attempts, out of which I have given 3 interviews. The first attempt and the second attempt, I could not qualify prelims. The third attempt, I qualified prelims, qualified mains, came to interview, but my main score was bad because I left as much as 100 marks worth of questions in mains. So that was a blunder. I did not practice answer writing very well, and I did not have a very good speed. So even though I had good score in the interview, 180, I could not qualify the final list because of the final total was not very good. The next attempt, which was my 4th attempt, I gave prelims again. I qualified it. I qualified mains with a very good score, a very decent score in my geography optional, which was 290, and but there was some blunder in interview, and I scored 140 only. So from 180 in my 3rd attempt to 140 in the 4th attempt in the interview, and I missed the list by just 4-5 marks in my 4th attempt. And after the result came for 4th attempt, my prelims was just in 3-4 days. Just 2 days after the result of interview, we had prelims, and I was obviously heartbroken. I could not prepare well. My mentality was not good. I did not feel confident in the prelims, and I failed prelims in my 5th attempt because of CSAT. I did not prepare and wasn't confident. I failed CSAT after giving 2 interviews in CSAT by just 2 marks. I scored 64 or something. And then I started working at Vision. I took a good 1 year break. I started working here, worked as a mentor, and alongside as a mentor, I gave the attempt again, my 6th attempt, my final attempt in 2024, qualified prelims, qualified mains, and qualified interview, and here we are today.
Okay, so this was a comprehensive journey because the kind of experience that you are bringing to this particular table, because 6 attempt, a diversity of the things. Sometime it was prelim, sometime it was means, sometime it was the personality test, and you never know specifically that which particular areas might be taking you back. So talking about the prelims related aspects, you have also appeared for the prelims this year also.
Yes, funny.
Okay, so what was the reason for that?
Okay, so a couple of reasons for that. So I gave prelims again. Now, just to clarify, I am expecting IAS service. So it did not make any sense for me to give prelims again. And ultimately, I would be taking up someone else's seat also. So it did not make any sense ethically as well as practically. But then, since I was in Delhi and I feel detached from that aspirant life, when you are into this life for like I mentioned my journey, 6 long years in Delhi preparing for the same exam. Every year when it's May, you start ringing the alarm bells that it's prelims. You are high on anxiety, and I think that anxiety kind of becomes an obsession. You're obsessed like a drug to that anxiety and to the feeling of being pressured by the examination, and so that sense of anxiety and that sense of preparing for an examination is what compelled me to go and take the exam again for the last time. But the good part was that I wanted an environment that was free of worry about the result. So I wanted to give the examination just for the sake of enjoying it and not because I was worrying about the result. So I gave the examination without any worry of result, and I attempted most maximum number of questions that I ever have, and I think I scored well again. But I made sure, just to clarify, that I do not mark the OMR sheet so that I don't qualify. I did not take up anyone's seat, and I did not want to, because I know for a fact that I don't want to give mains even if I qualify, because I have the foundation in August. So just for the fun of it.
Right, right. So without having any kind of pressure, just to observe the
Exactly. And
atmosphere.
I was enjoying it. I was loving this idea of solving the paper. I was enjoying every question. I was observing why this question may have been asked, and without having to worry about the result. I think I loved it.
And that too for the students, because you were guiding the students for last 2 years, and those are also taking up this particular paper. So I'm very sure that they are going to reach out to you also again, like even if you have cleared this examination now, but they are going to reach out to you that, sir, I have scored this, I have scored that. And that point of time you are having comparatively better solutions to them. So, right. So now talking about prelims specifically, like what do you think? Like why majority of the students are not able to crack this particular prelims related dilemma?
I think I have said this before at multiple platforms, and I'll say it again, that the problem with most of the students coming today is they feel that this is a college level exam, and they start preparing for it like a college exam, that they would take what the teacher says at face value, and they would not analyze the examination at their own level. And that is very problematic at several levels, because this is not a college exam, and the word of a coaching teacher does not mean anything if it is not relevant to the examination. So you have to take this examination as an examination that is looking for future civil servants, and not an examination that is looking for class toppers. That is the fundamental difference between a college exam and a UPSC examination. This examination is looking for civil servants for the country. So it is going to look for traits of a civil servant, right? And if you don't have those, you'll have to build up those kinds of traits eventually. And what are those? Having very good comprehension skills. Having good comprehension skills enable you to understand the orders of the superiors and of the government. Ultimately, you are going to work in the government, which means that you have to implement the policies of the legislature, right? So you have to comprehend things very well. That is one idea, which is why CSAT has been becoming very difficult these days. So that is one. And number two, you also have to understand what the examiner is asking. So analyzing the PYQs very well every year and understanding why a topic is more important than the other. Number one is identifying what is more important, and number two, why it is more important. And if you ask the simple question, why this topic is being asked and why this trend, you will always come to realization that this topic is more important for a civil servant. Now, since I've given the prelims, I can give a very good understanding of this. With example, I've been saying this to my students for one whole year, that certain topics that the government is very obsessed with in today's time, because of how the world is moving, will become important for the examination, because you are going to join the government. For example, energy resources. Energy is a hot topic today. We are facing energy crunch in the future, energy insecurity, which is why we are going to need green energy, renewable energy, and we are going and civil servants have to work on it. right? In future, you are going to make policies on these, which is why green energy, energy resources, cobalt, nickel, lithium, energy resources like critical and rare earth minerals will become super important for future as well as the exam. So if you don't understand that, how will you prepare well? And if you observe the prelims, you can find at least 4 to 5 questions related to resources only, most of which related to energy, ethanol, methanol, these kinds of questions. So that is one way of looking at it. What is the government obsessed with? Why is it obsessed with it? And how does it reflect in the examination? So I think that understanding is missing in the students, and they take it as a as a college level examination, and they fail to understand the demand and they get stuck in the examination process.
Exactly. So one thing you have highlighted brilliantly, which is about the PYQs, because that tells you the examination pattern. That in the mentoring also you must be suggesting the students that analyze the PYQ first, because they tell you about how the questions are being asked in this particular examination. So what do you think? Like, what is the role of the PYQs as far as this examination is concerned?
I think it is safe to say that you have to analyze at least 10 years of PYQs. And by analysis, I don't mean that you only solve them. By analysis, what I mean is you have to understand what topic in each subject is giving how many questions, what kind of questions, and how many of those are you able to solve, and how many of them are you able to get correct. So these three things have to be very clear. Number one, which topic gives how many questions? Of those questions, how many are you able to attempt or are you attempting? And number three, of those that you have attempted, how many are you getting correct or incorrect? Three things for every topic of every subject. So you make a chart. It is difficult to explain it in word, maybe better visually, but make a chart for one subject. Let's say we're making history. In history, you make one column of all the topics from ancient history. So the first we start with prehistory, then we go to Harappa, Indus Valley, then we go to, let's say, Vedic period, and then so on. Now what you do is you start with 1 year, 10 years back to 2015. You solve history questions of 2015. You identify how many questions from Indus Valley or prehistory have come. You mark one tally mark in front of Indus Valley if one question came from there. How many questions out of those have you attempted in the next column? And in the next column with a red pen, you mark whether you got it correct or incorrect. If you got it incorrect, this. Now do this for all the topics of history that year. Let's say there were 6 to 7 questions. You marked from which topic every question came, how many you attempted, how many incorrect from each topic. You do this exercise for all the subjects for all the years from 2015 to 25. Now what we have at our hand is, number one, importance of every topic. Because every year in front of a topic in a column, you will see how many questions from this topic. Number one, this. Which topic is more important, which subject is more important. Number two, how confident you are in one particular topic, which means you are attempting it, right? So your confidence in a particular topic will show the second column. The third column will show how accurate you are in that topic. So your strength and weakness will be clear from the third column. That gives you analysis of the paper. So which area you have to focus in terms of demand of the examination, in terms of your strength, right? That gives you a very good understanding of what the examiner is looking for. You don't simply attempt the questions and say, okay, I've done PYQs, but you analyze the demand of the examination. That is what is analysis. That is what is most crucial aspect of PYQs, I think.
All right. I think you have highlighted this particular point and put up very brilliantly, because this is what the analysis is actually looking like. Because sometimes UPSC tend to ask exactly similar kind of question. This year we had seen the question about the Araghatta that was there, that was previously also asked. But majority of the times it is the kind of theme that is getting repeated. So identifying that particular theme, the relative weightage of that particular theme becomes very, very important. So when you were explaining this, I was able to see the mentor inside you also, like that is explaining the things with clarity. So now tell me how like the role of mentoring plays with respect to the analyzing of things, because you have practically worked for here for with respect to the mentoring related profile. So like what role of this particular mentor is there as far as the preparation is concerned?
I think there are two sides to it. Someone who is preparing for the first time, and then someone who has attempted a few number of times. For both of them, it is important to have a mentor. In today's time, where multiple resources exist, multiple coachings exist. And for both of them, mentoring is important in different terms. For someone who is preparing for the first time, he does not know what to do. He does not, because in a market full of resources from everywhere, there is abundance of resources. You have to narrow down what you want to read, which is relevant for the examination, and you have to do what is relevant for the examination. What amount of effort you have to put in, how many hours to study, when to study, which teacher to refer to, because for the first time you're going to refer to a teacher. So those things become important from a mentor's perspective, that your mentor will tell you at where will you find these kinds of resources, what resource to do, and how to analyze and everything. So that becomes important, so that you don't have to learn from your mistakes. In my case, I never had a mentor, and I had to learn from my individual mistakes throughout my attempts. So it cost me 6 years without the right guidance, right? I had to figure it out everything on my own. Every mistake will teach me something. But if you want to avoid that, learn from the mistakes of your mentor. Learn from the experiences of your mentor, who has not only experience from his own life, but also through the experiences of other students that he has mentored, right? So you get to save a lot of your time, a lot of your attempts and years and money if you have a mentor. That is for someone who has started. Now, someone who has given, let's say, 2 to 3 attempts already, for him it is important because he does not know what he's making wrong, right? He has been giving 2-3 attempts simultaneously, continuously, and he does not realize what he has done wrong, that he is not able to qualify. A mentor has that right experience to identify what mistakes this person is doing that can potentially, make things right or wrong. So mentor will tell you what things to change, whether you want to change your sources, whether you want to change the strategy, whether you want to change your way of studying, way of looking at examination, like the things I initially mentioned, that you don't want to look at this exam like a college examination, but as a service, but as an examination that is looking for civil servants. So this one simple idea, when I tell to the students, I think it makes a very big difference. So these two things, and in my opinion, in upcoming times, coachings are going to become, so teaching is going to become less important, and mentoring is going to be more important, because every knowledge is present online. We have knowledge everywhere, we have books everywhere, and someone who has taken graduation already, they are capable enough to comprehend what is written in a book, right? In an NCRT at least. What they don't understand is how to tackle the examination stress, how to tackle the analysis of the PYQs. This is one. And number two, mental health. And I think a mentor is a very good friend when it comes to mental health. He can share things with you, you can share things with them. So mental health wise, it is very important, and cheaper also in terms of monetary and financial things, much cheaper than a coaching or a full classroom program.
So they have already gone through this particular process repeatedly maybe, and they are guiding the students. They know that what kind of practical difficulties one might be having as far as this examination is concerned. So there are certain other programs like we were talking about previously, the Lakshya and Daksha. These are the specifically targeted program. So like how these are different from general classroom related things, or in general specific mentoring wala aspect, and like how kind like difference you are able to see in these particular programs as far as the classroom is concerned.
Okay, so since I'm familiar with the terminologies and the programs of VisionIAS, and I have worked with them closely, so what I have observed is there are certain programs that come with the classroom program. That classroom mentoring, you would be if you are a classroom student of VisionIAS, you will be allotted a mentor who will be with you for 1 year, who will take care of your schedule and things and everything. But here, the participation of the students itself is not very good, and which is why even the mentor is not as involved. But let's say you're taking up a course such as Lakshya or Daksh, which is a specialized mentoring course for people who are not actively taking classroom program and who have taken, let's say, 2 to 3 attempts previously. Now what this program does is it provides you with mentor, not only in terms of telling you how to study and what to study, but also in terms of solving PYQs, solving MCQs every day, or let's say 2 to 3 sessions a week. So every week your mentor will take online sessions where you will be solving MCQs with them. They will also give you answers to write. So answer writing is also part of the mentoring program, and they will help you understand. Now what happens is, if you have a test series, that is one good way of practicing. But then in a test series, you don't understand what mistakes you are making and how to rectify them. The evaluator will write on the margin what mistake you have made, but why you are making it consistently and how to improve it, how to improve every small mistake that you are making, only a mentor can tell that. And I think Laksha and Daksh, which are comprehensive programs for 1 full year, help you with these kinds of things, making you understand what progress or what degradation you are making in one entire year. A mentor can tell you that. Maybe a friend or someone else won't be able to.
So they are like basically the kind of specific or the specialized guidance program that will help you with this preparation. Okay. So now having discussed about most of the prelims aspect, I want to ask you last question specifically about prelims, that we are seeing that the current affairs weightage is repeatedly increasing as far as this examination is concerned, but not in that way. Like the direct questions might not be there exactly, but the way applied questions are being asked from the current affairs. So like what might be the references that you might be able to recommend to the students regarding the current affairs, or maybe if you want to share some strategy for the preparation?
Okay. So current affairs wise, I think if there is some current affairs that is going to come in the examination, it is going to be in every source. If it is going to come in the examination and it is something obscure, no coaching is going to cover that. It is black and white in prelims. Most often it is black and white, that if there is something in news, every coaching will cover it, every magazine will cover it. Otherwise, if it is something difficult, it will not be anywhere. And you don't want to be concerned about those as well. You only want to be concerned with the important topics that you know are important for the government. Like I said, this examination is looking for civil servants. So you look at the topics that are very important for the government. Now this year I could very easily predict some schemes that could be in the news. Now government is absolutely obsessed with Pradhan Mantri Har Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, right? The solar rooftop scheme. The government is absolutely obsessed with it. It wants to make a lot of changes in renewable energy, and like I said, energy again, plus scheme. So if you have been following the news from the current from newspapers for the 1 year, last 1 year, you will understand that there are certain things that the government is absolutely obsessed with, and you don't simply read it from one source. If you know for a fact that this topic is important because it has been featuring in the news for so long, you go to 2-3 different sources, or you go to online sources such as ChatGPT or Grok or other AI platforms. You ask them, explain this topic to me in terms of prelims examination in a very exhaustive manner. It will give you 2 pages of notes without having to go to different sources. You don't need to wait for any coaching magazine to come in December or January. At the start of the year, you can go to some AI tool and you can make your notes on important topics. So my idea is, you understand what topics are important for the examination, you make your comprehensive notes on that. And then don't worry about the obscure topic from current affairs that will be there, because the cutoff is not 100 questions. Cutoff is just 55 odd net correct questions, right? So you want to be concerned about those 55. And trust me, and since I have taken a separate session in Vision itself, which talked about the importance of static, I know this for a fact that almost 80% of the syllabus, 80% of the questions are 80 to 85 are purely static. Somewhere down the line, maybe some aspect of current affairs in it, but largely static. And if you're not qualifying prelims, that is because you are not getting the static conceptual questions correct. It is not because you did not get current affairs correct. So the fact that people are very obsessed with current affairs makes me a bit worried, because then they start compromising with static at the cost of this, right? So current is important, but identify what themes are most important, have been most important for the last 1 year. Prepare your own comprehensive notes and be dependent on those, instead of only thinking that, okay, if I read one coaching magazine entirely 5 times, 6 times, I'll be done with current affairs. The current affairs that will be in the examination, either everyone will be able to attempt it or no one will be. and the things that no one will be able to attempt, don't worry about that. That's it.
So basically thematic notes that you are recommending based upon whatever topics that were important from the current affairs.
Newspaper, I think, is absolutely important. No replacement for it. Year-long study of newspaper, not in terms of only the small news, but themes. So in order to identify what themes have been more important from government perspective for the 1 year, that is important. And again, disqualification of MPs and MLAs, speaker, the power of speaker. Now, even the static questions come in the examination because that theme has been important in the government. Now, as a bureaucrat, you will have to handle these things. If you're, let's say, in the Vidhan Sabha Secretariat or in the Lok Sabha Secretariat as an IAS officer, you have to tackle, if there are questions raised on the powers of speakers, who will answer to the Supreme Court? You will, right? So you have to have an understanding of his powers and responsibilities. Who else will? Which is why you have to understand that if a case is going on in the Supreme Court with regard to the powers of the speaker, the question will come in the prelims because you are concerned about it, right? So I think that is how you look at current affairs.
Exactly, and that's why the repetitive questions are
Exactly.
there every year based upon these.
Exactly. Some questions such as the powers of the governors, because in the state administration, you will be part of the state administration. There will always be conflict between the powers of the governor and powers of the state government. So you will be stuck in the middle of it. You have to find out a way. If you do not understand the powers, how will you do that? So some themes are very predictable. The powers of the governor, powers of the presiding officers, this is something that PYQs will tell you and current affairs will tell you. Every year, powers of the president versus the governors versus members of legislative assemblies and everything. So I think for that, newspapers is absolutely important.
Right. So having discussed comprehensively about prelims, now let's discuss briefly about the mains also, because now the prelims is already done for the students and those who are going to clear. Now they are seeking certain kind of guidance. So from your experience of the mentoring, like what the student should be doing from now onwards regarding the mains examination?
Okay, so I'll divide it in two different divisions. Number one, for those who are immediately giving mains this year, and number two, for those who are giving mains next year or next year's attempt. Both these categories have to focus on mains at this point. So this particular time is for mains. We're done with prelims. Don't think of what we are going to do in prelims. And why this is important is because once you start giving your attempts and you do not qualify prelims, you get obsessed with prelims. And the next attempt onwards, you only concentrate on prelims year long. And what happens is the next attempt you qualify prelims, but you only have 2 to 3 months to tackle your mains, and you're not able to do that. Which happened with my third attempt, where I qualified prelims, but I screwed up in the mains. I did not have speed, which is why you have to be mains ready before your prelims, right? This is for people who are appearing next year. And for both the categories have to start preparing right now. The first thing, the most important thing is to be done with your optional. So let's say this time we have 3 odd months, 21st or 22nd of August we have main starting. So the first agenda should be to complete optional if you haven't done it already. Start with optional right now, give 4 hours to optional in a day and 4 hours to GS. Let's say we are studying for 10 odd hours in a day, 2 hours of, let's say, revision and 1 hour of practice of answer writing every day. Every day 1 hour, half an hour is sufficient, I'd say. So that 4 hours of optional, 4 hours of GS. Within GS, 2 hours for one GS paper, 2 hours for someone else. So my idea is I always give 3 subjects in a day. I won't just study one subject for a whole day. 3 subjects, optional half the time, the other half, the rest of the half, you divide into 2 GS papers. So 2 GS subjects, let's say history and economy or geography or polity, that's this way. So do this, optional for 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day if you want to get over with it quickly. And in a month, let's say 1.5, you should be done with optional entirely if you haven't finished it already, and then start with the revisions. And for GS as well, I think the most important thing for mains at this point for both the categories is to have 1-page notes for every topic. Because unlike prelims, which is a vast ocean of topics, mains is very particular. And the kind of questions that are going to feature in mains are going to be very limited. And for every topic, you need to have very definite and specific knowledge. In prelims, one topic, expansive knowledge. In mains, one topic, but very small set of knowledge with regard to the facts with regard to the map, with regard to the schemes, solution, committees, everything. So what you want to do at this point for both the categories who want to appear for next year and this year, identify the topics that are important for the examination. For example, let's say food processing. Food processing is something that will definitely give you 1 to 2 questions in mains every year. Food processing, 1 page notes. Start with the facts related to food processing. Let's say the contribution of food processing industry to GDP, which is close to 7%. The second fact could be employment related data. How much of the population of India is into food processing? Then you go on to the distribution of food processing industry in India. Make a map, small one-line distribution, largest producers and everything, names of some industries, examples, case studies. Then you go to problems, challenges, maybe the facts. Then you come to the schemes related to it. Then on the same page, in a small box, maybe government initiatives as well as a committee. You're done. Now, no matter what question comes from food processing, let's say they are asking about the relation of food processing industry with agriculture. Okay, you can't make notes on these because you can't predict this. But every time there is a question on food processing, regardless of what sector it asks you to associate with, you have the requisite data to substantiate the answer. Everyone will know the relation. If you are qualifying prelims, everyone will understand what is the relation between agriculture and food processing. But the distribution, but map, but facts, but conclusion, introduction, they won't have. And the difference between someone who's qualifying and someone who's not is this, that they are doing the absolute bare minimum, and people who are qualifying are trying to increase every single mark everywhere. And how do you do that? Maybe one introduction with a fact, conclusion with a committee, add a map somewhere, this. So do this 1 pager thing for every topic and identify important. Now, one important theme is women in mains. I guarantee you at least 5 questions on women related issues in entire mains. Optional, essay, your GS papers altogether 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 50 marks, 50 to 60 marks on women related issues. So prepare 4 to 5 pages of notes on women, women's health, all the facts and all the data, all the schemes on women's health issues, women's education, facts, data, schemes, problems, committees, women's employment, same thing, political empowerment of women, crimes, security, 5 pages. Every question on women can be solved from here. So that is how you prepare for mains in a very targeted manner. You don't want to be very expansive in mains. You want to narrow down everything. That I want to read just this many topics, this much data, I want to reuse it everywhere. 1 page of data on women, I can use the same fact. Women's, let's say, labor force participation rate, something like 35-40%. Use it in every paper. No one's going to check if you have reused it. Right? Recycle it. So you have to be very smart with mains.
And specifically, like as you are talking about the notes making and the answer writing, there is a very good correlation between them, because if your notes are structured, if your notes are highlighting all these kind of things in a segregated manner, then you will be in a position to put those particular things in your answer. Because sometimes when the student comes to us and like they ask like how to prepare the notes, in what manner the notes should be. So the PYQs that we are suggesting, like the manner in which UPSC is asking question, the manner in which they are asking to relate that particular topic from different aspects, as you have highlighted about the food processing and the agriculture. So those particular things I think are very, very important things. And that to add to this particular things only, because some kind of data, fact, example, committee that you were highlighting, that are very important for substantiation. Otherwise your answer will be generic. So now taking this forward, because many a times again regarding these themes also in the mains examination, as you were talking about women related topic, or maybe the themes that are directly mentioned as far as the syllabus is concerned, I think the decoding of syllabus for the mains examination is also very, very important.
Yes, absolutely. Because decoding is one, and number 2 is predicting. If you prepare certain important topics, especially with reference to paper 2 or paper 3, where you'll have more current affairs, it becomes easy to prepare. Now, because of some reasons, I did not have a lot of time to prepare for mains this year because of family health issues. I had a very limited amount of time for mains, but I still scored pretty decent. And I want to say this, that don't worry about excellent things. Just make sure that you try to improve every answer somehow. But then even average is good in UPSC mains. Even average is fine. And if you look at my mark sheet, I have not scored exceptionally well in any paper, and I have not scored bad in any paper. I was at average middle level at every paper. Essay paper, they have degraded this year so much that essay marks for even the toppers are below 100. Some toppers are not above 100 and 105. And most of the people are 80, 85, something like this. I scored pretty decent in it, 111. And other papers also, it was average. And I still ended up at IAS. So I think it is important that you don't step too much that, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. Do it in such a manner that you fulfill the demand of the examination, that you have basic data and facts for all the topics, and everything else comes and falls at place, I think, at one point.
Right. So regarding this answer writing, like how to start from the student's perspective, because there is an initial inertia you must also be aware of, because when the student comes to you, they might be suggesting, like, sir, first whether we should cover the complete topic or we should start writing something, then we will improve gradually upon that. So how to start with the answer writing related things, and what role the answer writing is going to play in the examination?
Okay. So I'll talk about this in two categories. Number one, for someone who's a classroom student and someone who's not. For a classroom student, in Vision, we provide a very good facility of assignment writing. So you want to start with writing assignments every day on the topic that you have studied in the class. So let's say you have studied in the class, the same topic, you go home, you revise it from the class notes, you revise it from the standard book that you have been asked to refer to. And at the end of the day, don't look at the answer, don't look at the content that you have studied. Read it in the daytime. At night, look at the question that you have been given, the assignment question, write down the assignment and send it for evaluation. You start with this. Then you start with the mini tests. For someone who's a classroom student, you start with, let's say, 5-question test a week, or 5-question test in 10 days, once in 10 days. So that you get an idea of not only writing an individual question, writing an individual question every day on the basis of what you read in the afternoon. It can be an assignment, it can be a PYQ of the same topic. Get it evaluated from someone experienced, a mentor or an evaluator, or if you have a test series, so that you get an idea of how to structure things properly, how to write an introduction, how to write a conclusion. Because initially the biggest problem is that students tend to write in a paragraph format, that they will write a 50 to 60 word introduction. Then the body becomes something like 150, 200 words. So it does not make sense. So you want someone who can tell you how to shorten it to a 20 word or 25 word introduction, body in just points and a proper heading format. Individual answers in the initial days, you will take some time, let's say 15-20 days to rectify that. Then you want to start with smaller tests of 5 to 10 questions. Then ultimately, after 3 to 4 months, once you are done with these, you can start giving the full length tests, I think. And 3 to 4 months, you can be done with one subject entirely. Once you're done with that subject, start with the full test. That is for someone who's a classroom student, because they have access to mini tests, they have access to assignments, they have access to full length test series. Now, someone who is not a classroom student, what you can do is, if you're studying one topic in a day, solve the PYQ of that topic at night and take a reference from a topper. Take a topper's copy, let's say 2-3 toppers. This year's topper, Shakti ma'am, you can take her notes and you can refer to how she wrote the answers. Then start writing your own answers individually, get it corrected from a friend or a mentor if you have one, or anyone else who can guide you in that. And then correct yourself in the long term, and then start with the tests that are available in the market, or let's say start with the PYQs available in the market in total. So for let's say 15-20 days, you are only solving one question a day. Then start with 5 PYQs in a day, once in a week, 5 in a time bound manner. You want to limit the time that you are taking for it. Initially, don't worry about it. You may take 25-30 minutes for a 150 word answer, but gradually, ideally, you want to bring it down to 7-8 minutes. In mains, you don't get more than 7 minutes to write an answer. So you want to reduce it. So it has to be a gradual approach. And by the time you're done with answer writing approach, I think you get a very good idea of the entire syllabus also. You're done with one subject by the time you're done getting an idea of structure of an answer. So that way it's very systematic. You don't have to worry about, I have not finished my syllabus, how can I give a test? You're writing individual question on the basis of individual topics. You are done with the PYQs, you are done with answer writing, you are done with practice and revision. It is a very holistic method. Don't wait for the entire tests. Write individual questions every day.
And majority of the students are facing this dilemma that they are seeking certain kind of perfection in the very first answer.
Don't. I would say start with individual answers. Take reference, and if you really want perfection, look at the toppers' copies. They will give you an idea of what is perfection. And I don't understand. I've evaluated assignments, I've evaluated copies, and what I've seen is consistently some people tend to do the same mistakes over and over again. I have been telling them that, okay, you're making introduction too long. Try to short it down. For 10 days, that person is doing the same problem. How do you want to perfect yourself if you're not able to even read the comment that I've given?
So feedback is very, very
Feedback is extremely important, which is why you want to go to a place that gives you a very personalized and very accurate advice on what to do.
Another area of the mains examination, which is the optional. So as you have geography optional, right? So like what kind of suggestion in general if you want to give to the students regarding the optional, like the preparation of the optional subject as far as the optional is concerned, or maybe like how they can choose any specific optional as their optional subject for this examination?
So I'll first start with how to choose the optional. There are 2-3 aspects to it. Number one is what your graduation subject has been and what your interest is. And number 3 is how scoring that subject is and how practical is that subject in terms of the syllabus, in terms of the bulkiness, the resources and everything. You have to take into consideration everything. If you have taken graduation in a certain subject and it matches with the trend of UPSC, so let's say I took geography as my option, as my graduation subject, and then I also had geography as an optional. Now, what matches here is it is a subject of my interest. It is a subject that can give a good score. So that way I am being benefited. So you have to look at both these things altogether. That you want to look at a subject that is interesting to you. If you find a subject that has a good score and also is short, but you're not interested in it, it becomes problematic. So all these factors altogether, go to the market and take 10 days maybe, research very well. Look at the PYQs, look at the syllabus and look at the books of the subject. And that way you can match all of them and get an understanding on what subject you want to take. Read that subject for one day. Online resources are available. Try to read it.
So now, having discussed about the optional subject, like you have talked about like how a student can choose a specific optional subject. Now let's shift towards certain other areas, like which is very, very important, which you have also highlighted in the initial remark, which is the personality test, because it is the reflection of what kind of person you are. The interview board is finding certain kind of suitability of an administrator in you, right? So like what was your experience with respect to the personality test, your previous experiences as well as the experience of this year, and like what kind of difference you were able to see in this particular year's personality test?
Okay. So personality test is about testing not only the knowledge but also your demeanor, your aptitude for the civil servants, civil services and everything. But at the end, it is also not only about these things. Knowledge is also an integral part to it. And one mistake that happened from my side was I thought that, okay, I'll talk nicely, I'll talk in a very fluent manner, in a very confident manner. And if my knowledge is not at par with it, it's fine, because at the end, my knowledge has been tested in mains. So how does it matter? And my optional was not very strong. And this happened in my second interview, that my answers to the optional related questions, because what happened was my entire background is in geography. And if you're not able to answer questions on the subject that you have studied throughout your life, it shows a very bad impression on your personality altogether. So you don't want to neglect the knowledge part also. That is one important part. And number 2, your personality as a whole is a product of what you do, how you speak, and how you think and everything. And that is something that you can't change. So at this point, I think people who haven't even given prelims or who haven't even given mains should not worry about it. If you are a suitable candidate, they will somehow test it. through different kinds of questions. And one thing that people think is very difficult in interview is unpredictability of interviews, that they may ask difficult questions with regard to current affairs and everything. I think what I've observed is it does not matter how many times you have said sorry. What matters is how you're able to handle it, and whether some other topics that you're comfortable with, whether you are very open with those, whether you're honest with those. If you don't know, you just say sorry sir, I don't know about this. So every personality trait is being tested there: your integrity, your honesty, your attitude, your confidence, and everything. So that will be tested in some manner or the other. If the interviewer feels that you're not comfortable with one particular topic, they'll ask you something else. And even if your entire interview felt very nice, but they did not find something very exceptional in you, they may still give you bad marks or average marks. Right? Your interview may feel that I was very good in the interview, I did very well, exceptionally well, and still you may land in a mid zone or a low zone. Or you may feel that my interview went very bad, and still you may get over 100 marks. So interview is something that tests your basic personality traits along with knowledge also. So I think that is something that can be taken care of at the later stages when you're preparing for the interview. But at this point, what you can do is just concentrate on what is at hand, which is prelims and mains. Once those are done, interview is the most enjoyable part of the preparation. The most enjoyable, because you're studying about everything else, but you're also studying about yourself. You have to study about your own name. The first question in my second interview was, your name is Rajat, what does it mean? Now, if it means silver, they'll also ask about what are the uses of silver. Give me 5 uses. Where are the mines of silver found? Is it naturally found, or is it obtained from impurities and everything? So you have to really research about your own self, your own town. You will research things that you have never known about your own town. You'll research things about your district, your state, about your country, about your optional subject, about your hobbies that you've never even known through your entire life. So I think interview is the most enjoyable phase, and one should not worry about it. One should just think that, okay, if I qualify mains in a very nice manner, I'll just get over with it. But yeah, I think that is something that you can take care of after the mains.
Right. So you have highlighted about the enjoyable part. Many of the students ask this question, that should we remain completely detached from certain kind of maybe distraction, means maybe social media or maybe any other kind of platform. So what is your take on that? Like, were you dissociated with any kind of these platforms, or you utilize that for the benefit of yours?
Okay. So I am a kind of person who gets distracted very easily with social media, because I would constantly want to check the messages or things like that. So I always had my social media deactivated. I always just use a smartphone majority of my preparation duration, but I kept my social media deactivated. The account was deactivated, not only signed out. So they were deactivated altogether, so that I don't have the urge to go to the social media platform and check who messaged me. That is my idea. But I've seen people, and I've also experienced it in some parts, that some people are able to manage their preparation along with social media, and it's fine. Ultimately, there are some things good coming out of it. If you have ways of keeping you happy, it's fine. If social media gives you some kind of relaxation for half an hour a day, I think that's fine. But if you are a kind of person who spends 7 to 8 hours on Instagram, your screen time is as high as 11, which for me happens. I tend to have screen time of 12 to 13 hours sometimes. So I have to necessarily keep the phone off and in the locker for some time. If you are a person who gets distracted as much as I do, if you are a person who is fine with it, I think it's fine. And at parts, I've used internet in a very efficient manner for interview preparation. What I did was I used AI extensively, and even for prelims. So you can do it on your laptop also, right? So it does not mean that you have your social media active. You can use AI in a very effective manner for prelims, mains, and interview. More importantly, for prelims and interview. But you do it in such a manner that you don't get distracted. So you have to stay away from distraction, but don't be disconnected altogether from the world, I would say. Because you want some kind of relaxation, you want some kind of recreation once in a week maybe. Go out to work out to a gym, or have a small pet maybe, or go to the gym, talk to the street dogs on your street. Some kind of venting out in the preparation is extremely important.
So that may be anything, like maybe
That can
social
be
media.
anything.
Yes.
Social media is one of the ways. But if that makes you distracted for a very long duration, you want to stop that. And even with regard to a partner, I think it is important that you understand whether having a partner will make you distracted or whether that will support you. Right? It is very important. If you have a partner who's supporting you, who's encouraging you to study and not, constantly texting you, why you're not texting me back and everything, I think it's fine. That becomes helpful. There are a lot of toppers who gave credit to their partner with regard to their success, right? That happens. So these kinds of things, you have to identify what works out for you and what doesn't, and where to draw that line.
And also one such thing which is an issue with respect to this preparation, that it is taking a lot of toll on the mental health, and that creates the stress and anxiety. And you are someone like who have spent 6 years in this preparation, so you might be knowing about all the phases of this particular preparation. So talking about the mental health, because it is a lot talked about these particular days, so what is your take on the mental health and how to keep a healthy mental health during this preparation journey?
I think both the things, the thing that we just talked about, distractions and recreation and everything, that is also an important part of mental health. So during this examination, it is very natural to be anxious, to have depressing episodes, to have pressure and stress, because that is what the job is ultimately, right? If you are a civil servant, you are going to have a lot of kinds of stress from your office, stress from your family, stress from the chief minister's office and everything. You have to be a person who's able to handle all of the stress very effectively, and this exam is basically providing you with that, or checking whether you're able to handle that stress. So in a sense, stress and anxiety is a part of this examination, and if you decided to come into this examination, you have to be uh, able to understand this fact that stress will be there. How to handle it is going to be an task, is going to be a task that is going to be your job, right? So take it from that perspective, that yes, there will be depressing episodes, there will be stress. How to handle it is important. How to handle it is by looking for distractions, productive distractions, in a controlled manner, such as having your leisure time, such as having a hobby, such as having a person to talk to about these things. If you are a person who finds it comfortable talking to people and releasing out your stress, some people are not uh, fine with that. Some people think that, okay, if I share, maybe I'll become more stressful. So that way, you have to find out something that lets you vent out the stress, and something that lets you get distracted from the stress. So my idea was of having pets. I had pets to distract myself, because regardless of how anxious or how depressed or how stressed you are, you always have to take care of that pet. You can't vent out your stress on that pet, right? So it always made me pacified, that my pets will pacify my anger, they will pacify my stress, and somehow they will channel out my emotions. So that was one way. If you're too stressed, you can take 2 day off, you can go to a trip alone, or with your friends. So mental health is extremely important, because this exam is about handling the stress. In prelims as well, in the preparation as well, in mains as well, in the interview as well, every single stage is about stress and how well you are able to handle that. And the ability to keep a very calm and composed mind ensures that you qualify in this examination. Without that, you can't. Even prelims, for that matter, if you can't keep a very calm mind on the day of the prelims and focus on the question altogether and be confident about what you know, you won't be able to qualify regardless of how much you've studied. Prelims is altogether a mental game, right? So mental health extremely important. How to take care of it? At the lower level, distractions. If you are facing really big problems, then please consult a therapist or a professional. And I think Vision has also provided a wellness cell. Yes, I've recommended it to my students also. Mental health awareness, mental health help is extremely important in this preparation.
Right. And also don't be too hard on yourself, because at the
Exactly.
end of the day, you are a human being.
Right, right. And it is just a job. It is just a job. There are multiple jobs in the world. This is one of them, and it is fine. Everyone understands. So take it easy. If it is not happening in one time, it will happen the second time. You just understand what went wrong, right? And that is what consistently, and you take some other help also. Financial things are also important for mental health. And I started working 2 years back, and I qualified this examination along with my work. I kept coming here to Vision regularly for 2 years, and I qualified the exam along with it, right? But what that did was the mental health breakdown that I had in my fourth attempt because of the interview. I improved it because of my financial condition here. So I got money. I improved my lifestyle. I improved my mental health because of that, and I took a good break. I got back to the preparation, and I'm standing here.
Right. So it is entirely the comprehensive efforts that you are putting, not just about the study only. You have to comprehensively think about your entire ecosystem. You have to work upon that particular thing, seeking the guidance, as you have suggested, from the mentors, and also taking care of each and everything of yours, including your emotions. Because at the end of the day, you are a human being. This is the a kind of like job service that you are looking for to improve the society, to improve or to pursue your goals. But at the end of the day, it is the examination that you are looking for. So that was very, very comprehensive, Rajat. I think we have discussed about a lot of things that student also might be seeking guidance with respect to this. So thank you for joining us. And again, congratulations for clearing this examination. Thank you. So we are concluding this particular session. I hope that all of you might have found this session very, very interesting. So thank you, everyone.